Trending Tuesdays, where the culture meets the conversation. Yeah, every Tuesday we're setting the tone. Latest trends, let it be known. Voices rising, stories unfold. Thought-provoking, fresh and bold. From the mic to the movement we bring. Conversations that matter, hear wisdom sing. Insight, purpose, food for the soul. This is the place where ideas grow. It's Trending Tuesday. Tune in, stay ready. Inspiration served hot, call it mostly greens. With Chef Eddie. Redefining progress, changing the way we speak. Real talk, real life, every single week. Yeah. Oh, organic living, mind and play. Healthy conversations that elevate. From the kitchen to the culture we see. Growth, wellness and authenticity. Laugh, learn and be entertained. Meaningful dialogue, never the same. If it's trending, if it's true, we're bringing it straight to you. It's Trending Tuesday. Tune in, stay ready. Inspiration served hot, call it mostly greens. With Chef Eddie. Redefining podcasts, changing the way we speak. Real talk, real life, every single week. Yeah. Sponsored by Danny Davis and Katie at TC, building community. Yeah. Inspiring change.
Well, hello, and welcome to Trending Tuesdays. Yes, Trending Tuesdays brought to you by Kay Davis in the community. This is a special episode of Trending Tuesdays because it is election day. That's right, it's not our regular week, so you caught us off week, but we say it's on because voting is on today. Let's welcome you into this episode of Trending Tuesdays. Today is not about red. Today is not about blue. Today it's all about you. That's right, it's all about you. Because here at Trending Tuesdays, we are talking about power. Not loud power, not angry power, not even just black power, baby. We're talking about being informed and activating generational power. For real power. You know, the power that say the power that's of the people, for the people, by the people, that kind of power. It's not talking about the political, what's political, because voting is really not a political act. It is a civil responsibility. So welcome with me today, a part of our team today that's going to be talking to us about this voting power. We have with us Daryl Jones. Daryl, give it up for Daryl Jones. And we have Selena Bray with Pure Justice. Look at Selena, look at that beautiful face. It gets younger and younger, I think, okay? Daryl, what you think about that? You know, here I am over here. I think I'm probably everybody's elder probably on the show today. And then we're passing it on down to, like, Selena.
You gotta love it, you gotta love it. You know, one of the things about the whole voting process is we always say take somebody younger along with you when people go to the polls. Start teaching them early. Selena's going to be taking people with her to the polls, okay? And I'm sure her mom and her folks took her to the polls, and now she's following in their footsteps. That's what this is all about. It's about building the tradition of voting.
Building the tradition of voting. And then we have Mr. Brian over here. Brian, say hello to our audience.
What's going on, Trending Tuesdays? Hey, it's time. Getting out the vote. We are in the mix down in Houston, down here for you. Trending Tuesday. Let's do it.
Let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. You know, some people say that my vote really doesn't matter, right? And, I mean, let's face it. For maybe some justified reasons. What do you all say? Because that's one of the biggest things that I know that I hear, I guess most often, my vote really doesn't matter. You know, what do you say to that, Brian?
For me, doing this work, and this is not just coming down to TJ in Houston and do it with TJC. This is something I have been doing consistently now for almost 4 years. And prior to that, I always have felt, it was our civic duty. I was that young kid being took to the voting polls as a kid to go with the grandparents and the aunties. So it's always been important to me. This is that one space, when I try to tell people, it's that one space where you have some power, and the power that they don't want you to flex is you showing them. So my thing is, I tell them all the time, we go against the grain, and I tell the millennials and the younger Gen Zs all the time, like, we go against the grain, fighting against everything. We'll do all these illegal activities that we know we can't do in certain spaces, but when you got something that's legal and you can flex it and really put it in their face at a high rate, you don't do it. So once they can get over the point of seeing, once they get the rebellious energy out of their system for the other things, and they can get rebellious and go to the polls and vote, I think this is one way. But also, it's that killing that hopelessness that we see from a lot of our people. A lot of people feel hopeless and it's not an issue, and they go straight to DC with their vote. I tell them to think about what's going on in the community around them now. Don't focus on DC. We that's an uphill battle. We trying to see what's going on in the community, and then we're gonna tackle what's going towards the east.
Right. And so you said TGC, right?
TJC, yeah.
TJ. So they don't know what that is,
Oh,
right?
sorry.
So
Yeah.
and I didn't introduce it, so it's not your
I'm
fault.
gonna
So-
slide that over to the main
Let's take
man,
it
to the main guy.
man,
Let him break
Mr.
the TJC
Darryl
down.
Jones.
Yes.
He's the co-founder.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm the co-leader of the Transformative Justice Coalition, which is the TJC that Brian has made reference to. And what we are is we're a national 501c3. And what we do is we train folks between the ages of 18 and 35 on how to become voting rights advocates. And we've trained over 800 youth in our 10-year existence of becoming voting rights advocates. But we don't stop at the training, because when I say we train you, it is 4 intensive days of training. Not 4 days of 5 hours, 6 hours. You're talking about 12 hours of training each day. You eat, sleep, and just live voting rights, voting issues, how to deal with voter suppression, how to deal with many issues, how to get other Gen Zs and young millennials out to vote, strategies. Those are a lot of the pieces that we do with the Transformative Justice Coalition. Brian is one of our alumni from the 2022 class.
Yep, 2022
class
September.
out of Washington, September,
Yep.
out of Washington, D.C. And then what happens is that we have these activations. So our trained alumni, we then take them and we go to different parts of the country. And they go in and youth to youth, right? Gen Z to Gen Z is the best type of communication. And so that's what happens as we go across this country, trying to encourage young voters to either register to vote, or as we are here in Houston and Fort Bend, getting to the polls to cast those ballots.
Yes. And I can't wait to get to that part of the conversation. But I'm going to have to back it up just a moment, because I love the peer-to-peer conversation and activation, right? Selena, what has this experience been like for you with partnering with such a dynamic organization?
Yes, it has been a fantastic experience, and I should say I am the policy organizer for Pure Justice, and Pure Justice is similarly a nonpartisan organization. We are member-based and we are grassroots, and we work for criminal, racial, and economic justice transformation with a priority on helping people who have been impacted by the criminal legal system, and we understand that means lots of Black people, especially Black people in Harris County. This has been a really great experience to have the opportunity to go door to door, to be at barbershops, to be at churches, to be in different sorts of neighborhood restaurants, to just let people know what's going on. For me, growing up in Tuskegee, Alabama, the legacy of civil rights and the struggle for voting rights has always been a big part of my understanding of myself and my community and my town, and I think it's also important to communicate that historical struggle and connect it to our lived experiences, the material realities that we, as especially young Black people in Houston, are experiencing, from the potholes to closing schools to needing more economic opportunities, and helping people understand it is all connected, nothing is separate. And like Brian said, all politics is local.
All politics is local. Why do you think people feel like they can live in this world and politics not really affect them, or they can keep it separated?
Yeah. I can understand and empathize with that perspective. I will say, especially when we look to the local news, regardless of the party, it can be hard to tell who was fighting for you and who was fighting against you. I think that's what's so exciting about today's election, which is the primary election, which is that people have an opportunity to say what candidate will be the best fit for them, who will be most effective. And so I think when we see candidates who maybe aren't as effective in the news, it can be hard to know that we can move the needle. And that's why it's important to have these conversations and say, hey, your vote really does matter. And if it didn't matter, they wouldn't be trying so hard to take it from you.
You took one of my taglines. But because of who you are, I'm going to give it up to you.
You gotta give it up, yeah.
Yes, I have to give it up to Sam.
Yeah.
Now, you know, with you all, Daryl, you all have Gen Zs from all over the nation. Even though I'm kind of like, I wish I could kind of like go back in time, because I believe everyone should have the training that you all are doing with Gen Zs, and perhaps people will understand really the importance of the vote, of their voice today, because it's just not younger people who are not getting the message. It's not resonating with that. You know, I've got to take time. I've got to make the time to make sure that I go and cast my vote. But you all bring these young people from around the nation. They have been here in Houston for a little over a week now, about a week now, and making
2
great
weeks.
2 weeks,
2
2
weeks.
weeks, and making great impact. Boy, does this time fly when you're having a good time, because I have been having a good time just catching up with you all. You're always on the go. People, you all think that I'm on the go all the time. I have nothing on these people. I cannot keep up with them. Tell us about your journey here leading to coming into Houston, and then after you got into Houston.
Yeah, you know, I appreciate that, and I wanted to first piggyback, if I may, on something that Selena just said and that Brian said, because, you know, we're talking about engaging youth and bringing young folks in to voting, and they're always asking the question, you know, why should I vote? And your question was, my vote really doesn't matter. You know, I'm not into politics. I don't do that stuff. And the one line that we always instill in our trainees is this: you may not do politics, but politics will do you. And they need to understand that. You know, when you if you end up going before a judge, that judge was either elected or appointed by somebody. You know, if you're going up to anything dealing with any governmental system, they were appointed or elected by somebody. If you're going up and the decision is on a prosecution, the prosecutor was elected by a body. You know, the judge elected by a body. So all politics is within everything that we do. That's the reason that folks need to get out and vote. And we always are clear to stress that on people, because a lot of folks think top down, right?
Right.
President, you know, I'm only worried about the president. I'm only worried about Congress. You need to worry about all of it. Top-down voting, from the president all the way down to the board, the school boards, because elected school boards determine what books you have available to read to you, what history you have available to you to read. So when we talk about why people should vote, and they say, what's the power of my vote? That is the power of their vote. It's that collective vote that will determine what the voice of the community says. So, you know, that's one of the things that I appreciate what the two of them have pulled out, but I really wanted to be clear on that. Why we're here, oh my goodness. You know, let me tell you, Harris County, Houston, Fort Bend, I ain't never seen folks turning out like this.
We are turning out right now,
all right,
baby.
yo, just tearing it up, just tearing it up. And let me tell you, it was to the point we went to Texas Southern University for a march with the students from Texas University to the polls. And, you know, we've done these marches before. We have, you know, 60, 70 students, whatever, that turn up, and then others that join in. 200 plus students.
Let's go, Tigers! That was Tiger Town, baby.
Okay, and
not
then-
Cougar Town.
Not
Over there,
Cougar Town. Not Cougar
We have
Town.
a Cougar fan in the house today, but that was the Tiger Nation. All right.
And it wasn't that we just went from point A to point B at Texas Southern University. We went from point A to the polling place where they cast their ballots. That's what this is about. We came back the following week, and we teamed up with Texas Southern again, along with the University of Houston, and did another. Bring them back into the fold.
Come on,
Bring them back into
Becky.
the fold. And did another march to the ballot box, along with one of our national partners and local partners, Black Voters Matter. So, you know, the experience here, the welcoming here, the interaction with the people. When we went over to the Community of Faith Church,
Yes.
And we went there for a Sunday votercade. And yeah, we were looking for, 50, 60, over 100 vehicles. Again, go from the church, they're all taped up, horns blowing, flashers on, and they go to the polling place to cast their ballot. That's what this is about. It's the building of that excitement in the community. And, we have such wonderful partners, ground partners.
Yes.
Community of Faith, the Houston NAACP, Pure Justice has just been on fire.
Yes.
Every time we turn around, they're right at our shoulder.
pop
They
it
say,
up.
where y'all
Right.
going? We're going too.
Yep.
Yes. And I love it. I love it. And you mentioned that Sunday, that was the Souls to the Poll. And it wasn't just a community of faith church thing. We thank God for the initiative led by Bishop Dixon, the president of the local NAACP, in touching the faith-based community, and churches throughout the city went to the polls that day. And I know because I personally had the opportunity to talk to a lot of pastors of congregations, and at churches we all get out of church at different times, and I'm like, no, you just go when you get out, and that'll just kind of clear the pathway for the others of us who are coming in and rolling in a little bit later. So we are thankful. I know at the Acres Home Multi-Service Center, that polling station has been busier than it's been in a long time during the early voting season, and we've seen higher turnout. The record shows higher turnout in early voting right here in Harris County. Why do you think that makes such a big difference that we've done such a great job with the early voting?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna keep it real straight to the point. The women of Harris County, particularly the black women of Harris County, are killing the numbers. It's an 80% increase with black women alone, and after that, you just see our I'm missing my generations up right now, but our baby boomers are crushing it. Gen X is crushing it. So when I'm looking at it, I'm seeing those are the top three right now. We are in some spaces, and it's like this, the trend everywhere else. The black male vote between 18 and 34 is not where it should be. It's about 11% down here in Harris, Texas during the early vote. But we, that's the whole thing. That's the challenge about the work we do is talking to these young brothers, and maybe we need to just take it back to the traditional route and just make sure that granny, auntie, and sisters is putting a little bit more pressure on them. Sometimes you got to, talk to them a little bit more. You want to come borrow some money, you ain't getting no money until you go to the polls and go vote. Oh, you trying to use this, do that? Oh, no, you need to go vote first, then we can talk about that. So today, before they come over, get some money, they need something from y'all, make sure they go into the polls before you drop in any extra whatever for your kids or for the young adults, because they need it. So right now, I'll give all props to the black women of Harris County for out here crushing it in the voting game right now. Y'all doing a great job. So keep doing that and get y'all people to the polls today to go vote. So that's why I had to take it right there to where it was at. From what numbers I've been looking at, that's what it's saying to me.
Yeah, women, we have a way of really influencing those who we want to have influence on. Yeah, you know how to do it. You know how to smile. You know how to give that little gleaming eye to them. Give them a little wink, You know how to do the little touch and everything. And even if it's your grandbaby, my grandson is 18 now.
Yeah, okay.
And so and I've been taking him to the polls with me because I ran the early childhood program at the Community Faith Church for 35 years. So he happened to be one of my students, and I always look forward to voting season because he rode into school with me, and we will always go to the polls on the way to school during election season so that he can see the voting process. So I know that's already engraved in his spirit, right? Engraved in his spirit. And so now, yes, GT is gonna say, baby, did you go vote? You didn't make it. You didn't make it during the early voting time. Let's roll out on Tuesday morning before you head to school. Let's go take care of the vote. I've already taken care of my business, but it's about us making sure others take care of their business. So it's not enough to say I've done my part because I've cast my vote. That's a piece of your part. The other piece of that is that you get others to join you. And how can we get? We say we have the baby boomers that are there. We have Gen X that's there. How can we get our Gen Z, Selena, to the polls? What strategies can we use to help encourage them to get on out to vote?
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen many different strategies be employed from, to Brian's point, maybe potentially getting extra credit if you show your I voted sticker for your college class or your high school class or whatever it is. But then also having for me personally, like frank conversations with ourselves that are like, the next 5, 10, 15 years are really uncertain, and this is a really critical opportunity that we have to sway things one way or another. A lot of the things that we've been growing up hearing about as maybe being counted on or taken for granted, like Social Security or Medicaid and Medicare or food stamps, are really things that we're seeing have a lot of variability in their consistency, and if we can count on them. So I've been having lots of success just communicating that this is a really pivotal chance for all of us, and we cannot take it for granted because it's really existential. I think also, to your point about why so many people are early voting, I think young people have been getting more aware about intentional efforts to sow mistrust in elections and make people feel like democracy doesn't matter and that it's worth it not to try. And that's why I've been really encouraged by early voting too, to see people say, hey, my vote's really important. I want to make sure I set aside time to do it, make sure that it's logged. If I need to vote by mail, that's what I want to do. So yeah, just communicating the urgency too.
Yeah, and when you go to the poll, you may experience some challenges, but no victory without a challenge is really worth celebrating to me, right? So, I don't ever want an easy win. Playing volleyball, basketball, running track, I'm the competitive type of thing. I do not want to do a blowout game, right? It's like, okay, that was kind of boring, right? So the challenge makes the victory sweeter. So you may actually experience a challenge when you go to the poll. Many people have. That's called, in today's terminology, voter suppression. And it has all types of looks and shapes and forms. Daryl, talk to us about some of the challenges that people might face when they get to the polls, but we want to say, never give up, don't be defeated. Just start singing that song. Never to be defeated. Dog can't be defeated. Let's go down.
No, you're absolutely right. Never be defeated. One of the big challenges that here in Texas that voters face when they go to the polls is with your identification. Being certain, A, that they have an identification that is an acceptable form of identification by the state of Texas. And one of the interesting things is that in the state of Texas, as you go poll to poll and county to county, the rules and regulations and responses can differ. So you have to be certain. We call it making a voter plan. Make a voter plan. At this point, if you have not early voted, it's too late. You're beyond that. If you've asked for your absentee ballot and you've received it and you have not put it in the mail as of today, don't mail it. Because here in Texas, if the ballot is not received by Election Day, it's not going to be counted.
Okay, hold on that point. What that means is you have to take that absentee ballot with you to the poll. Don't leave it at home. Take it to the poll so it can be voted out. Then you can actually vote in person. So today, when you head to the poll, people, if you have an absentee voter ballot, make sure you take that with you. Make sure you take the proper identification with you. Here in Texas, that's your Texas state ID, your Texas driver's license. Is there anything else that people should make sure that they take with them? Or maybe your voter's registration card.
Your voter registration card will be huge. You want to take that with you. If your ID is expired and you're under the age of 70, if the expiration is 4 years or less, then you'll be able to use that as an identification card to be able to vote. If you're under 70.
Okay, you taught me something new today, because I'm talking to you, and you, the person who, I know you're watching the show. I know you're catching this. So you live in Dallas, but that's still in the state of Texas. Your ID has expired, but take your voter's registration card with you with that expired ID, and you can vote. Your vote still counts, so get out to the polls today. Thank you, Daryl.
We also encourage people that if you have an expired ID and you have your voter registration card, take one of your utility bills with you to show where you live, and that your address on the bill matches the address from where you're voting. So you want to have as many pieces prepared as possible, so that when it comes time for them to say, prove where you live and prove your identity, you have various forms that you can use to do that. And I can certainly share with you that we went through that with the early voting with a young lady who did not have her ID, but she was able to end up voting because she had a utility bill and she had her registration. So be certain to take multiple forms of identification with you, because you don't want to walk away Tuesday not having the ability to vote. The absolute last thing that you want to do when you go to vote on Tuesday is vote by provisional ballot. That's the absolute last thing, because you don't know if that provisional ballot is going to be counted or not. You want a regular ballot. That's your goal. Only time you go to a provisional ballot is that you're so beaten, bruised, and you got to get to work that you can't do it and time has expired. At that point, you might want to do a provisional ballot. Any other situation, you want to vote the regular ballot.
Okay, here we go. Here's the in-your-face kind of situation right here. Take your ID, your Texas state-issued ID, driver's license or Texas ID, right? Bam, in your face. That's expired. Keep that, still do the bam in your face. But then lay down that voter's registration card, bam in your face. And then they say, okay, well, we still need a little bit more. Okay, let me give you my utility bill. How many you want? Bam, 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 in your face. Give me my ballot now and let me go cast my vote. That's how you do it. And we want to make sure that we see you and coming on live with your voter sticker saying, I voted, voted. I love that little red, white, and blue sticker, and I wear it proudly when I go. I stick it on and I go live and say, here it is, baby. You hear my voice now. You might not see me, but you hear me, because my vote is my voice. And one vote can actually shift the world. It can shift funding, as you talked about with the books in the schools, the things that the SNAP benefits, housing benefits. How many of you know people who are receiving supplemental housing benefits? How many of you do you know are receiving supplemental food benefits, child care benefits? All of that's based on the vote. What about even your trash services? All of that's based on the vote. As Daryl said, everything, if you might not be doing politics, but politics is definitely doing you, because those people have agendas and platforms that they're actually executing in those places where a power that they have at that time. But their power is no greater than your power, because if you have the power to put them in, guess what? You have the power to get them out. But you got to get out to vote. And that's what today's conversation is about. Get out to vote. Now, I love it because food is always a pathway to bringing people together. You know, food and music is the thing in our culture, for real, right? So you all have been going out doing pop-ups and even having food trucks.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about how that's been for you all.
You know, we get so excited because, when you speak of Acres Homes and you talk about the increase in the numbers, one of the things that we do is that, we'll go into marginalized communities. And when we go into the communities, we don't just show up and go knocking on doors. We'll come with a food truck where we have free food that we're providing for the people. We'll come with a DJ where we'll have music that's being provided on the outside. We get the kids to play, and we'll sing with the kids. We'll bring everybody together. We'll feed them. We'll talk to them. Then we start talking about voting. We have a big 55-seat John Lewis Make Good Trouble Vote bus. So while we have them there and we confirm that they're registered, we load them up on the bus and take them to the nearest polling place so they can cast their ballots.
Let me tell you, Daryl, that blew me away. I mean, I heard you all say it, right? But to be there to experience it and seeing the seniors loading up, and then I follow you all to the polling station, and then they're getting off the bus excited. Now they're excited. They have a lot of life in them at that point, and hope, because I think it's the hope that they have, right? Mm-hmm. And they go in there and they cast their vote. Yes, the ballot is long, right? But it's not so long that it's so encumbersome that, it's like, oh, it's so overwhelming, I just can't do it. Let's talk about that, the ballot. It's pretty simple this year. The propositions, the language of the propositions are a lot clearer than they have been in the past. So you can tell now if you're really wanting to say for or against. That's another thing now that's a plus. So we got to give it up to them for that. for changing that. But talk to us about that, the ballot, because you hear so many people saying, oh, the ballot is over 100 pages long.
Yeah, the ballot is 113 pages long, and that itself can be intimidating. One of the things that people need to understand and realize and appreciate is that if you have any hesitancy with regards to technology or anything else in going in there to vote, you have an absolute right to ask for assistance. And the assistance can be whoever you want it to be. So if you want to bring in your little grandson, your godson, Uncle Smokey or whoever to walk you and be with you through the process, you have an absolute right to do that, and no one's going to stop you from doing that. So with this balloting process, the 113 pages that's there, it sounds cumbersome, it sounds long, but it's actually relatively short. And it's all, pretty much the press the button, what touch, right? Touch the button, just touch.
You don't have
Just
to.
touch and
You don't
go.
have to turn that knob
No.
to get it on the certain candidate that you wanted to get it on.
No.
It's like a touch screen.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't need to take a pencil and connect any lines. Just touch the screen and keep moving. It's a very user-friendly type of piece that's in there that makes it so that you can get through expeditiously. What we do encourage people to do is that the League of Women Voters has a guide that has put out already that shows you everything that's going to be in the ballot. We encourage people to go through that guide. There are folks that also have sample ballots that are mailed out. Take your sample ballot and right there, just check all the people that you want to vote for so that when you go in, you can just go, here's my sample ballot, let me follow what's here, and you can be in and out and simplify the process. Again, the 113 sounds cumbersome, but it's really not. It's relatively simple.
Yes, and it goes by pretty fast, especially when you go in prepared. I did like you said. I took I'll call it my cheat sheet. I took it in with me. I took the sample ballot, the mock ballot. I took that and I noted who I wanted to vote for. I did not chance my memory with it, because sometimes you can know of like candidates and you just kind of can get confused during that time. But take your paper. You cannot take your phone in with you, but you can take paper in with you. And so you can be very prepared with having your paper there, and you can just go right down the line, look at the paper, touch the screen. Look at the paper, touch the screen, and you can get your vote in. So thank you for that. And thank you for sharing that you can take somebody in with you because you need assistance. And I think that's something that's really not spoken of very often, that you can take someone with you, because they'll try to tell you. A lot of people say, no, it's just you. No, I need assistance. I'm not comfortable with technology. Understand the words that you're using, and I need this support to be able to complete casting my vote.
Right. And that goes not simply with technology, but if you're insecure with your reading, right? You feel as though there's ballot measures. My reading comprehension isn't that great. I want someone there to help me. You're entitled to have that person. It may be a language difference. If it's a language difference, you're entitled to have that person there to assist you. So yeah, that's really huge.
Yes. So I know, Brian, from your experience,
Yes.
what has it been like for you when you've taken people to the poll? What are some of the testimonies you hear from you all being there, walking people through this process?
I haven't been one, to be honest with you. I have been more outside in the mix outside. I feel like I've been just zone protecting and just chilling. A lot of the people that have went inside I've talked to that's on our team, though, have felt just saying that this feels like voter suppression just from what they've had to do. I've heard what you said, that they said that the provisional questions they're easier to comprehend. So for me, from what I've been hearing, it's the same thing. Is that it's just the people who have been inside was just like, oof, there's a lot on those pages. But a lot of people seeing that have been coming out and feel like they've accomplished something major. Especially we took in a couple people, more than a couple people, who haven't either voted in a long time, or we had a 70-year-old woman that voted for the first time that we had on our bus last week. So that right there is just, right there in the sense, that was something, very important. And I know that we got a lot of people out here that we'll need those rides, and we'll be linking up with them today as well to get to the polls. But I think it's important that we out here seeing people go through a process that they've been running from, and they're actually stepping back into that it's an uncomfortable zone, but it's rewarding in the end. And what we're seeing is a big reward right now, and of course, an early vote. But today we're going to see massive amounts all across Harris County, which is looking like the projection. So I'm thinking that we're going to see more people having the pressure of the ballot, but they're going to go through that and feel accomplished. And I just want to shout out to y'all in advance for going out and doing your civic duty. So. Thank you.
Taking care of the business, standing on business, as y'all would say.
Standing
you
on
gotta
business.
stand on business today,
You're
okay?
right about that.
And then clock it. That's how you have to do
I
it.
like that. Clock it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, do that clock again? How you do that? Clock it.
Oh, my grandkids are probably saying, OGT.
They paying attention. They're going to be watching that, huh?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Selena, what would you like to say to your peers? Because we talked about the importance of peer-to-peer conversation. What would you say to them on today, voting day?
Yeah, absolutely. I think to me today, for this election and also the coming elections, voting is all about possibility, right? The possibility to make a difference, the possibility to have a different outcome than we're all thinking is going to happen, and to really turn the tide. I think about the experiences going door to door at the CUNY Homes or Sunset Gardens, and the possibility that the bus opens up, right? Like, hey, good afternoon, are you registered to vote? That's good to hear. Oh, you got kids, that's awesome. Well, have a seat at the bus too. We have snacks, there's a food truck, there's so much possibility there. So I think just bringing everyone into the fold and making sure everyone knows, especially those that are, I'll go ahead and say like sub 25, sub 28, that there's no time like the present, and this is our moment. This is really our moment. It's everyone's moment. There's no person that is, less important than anyone else. Everyone is just as important to making the world that we all know can be possible real, and it starts today.
So our vote actually shapes the world.
Yes.
What we live like is through the vote. What we, want to see happening for your children and their children is going to come through the way we vote. Many people don't understand that, so to your point, they only consider the national elections. They're not concerned about the local elections. Your city elections, then your state elections. Right now, we have state elections going on. We have our judges. What about the judges? Something that a lot of people sleep on. And there are a lot of judges on the ballot here in Harris County. I do know that. What do you say about the judges and the impact that they have on the way we live and the way our people, because people, our family members, everybody's going to be impacted by having to go to court at some time in life for some reason. How do this impact us?
Yeah, I mean, this was a direct impact when you're talking about the judges, because here in Harris, Fort Bend County, you're talking about the criminal judges. So if you or a family member has to go and stand before one of these elected judges, this is your opportunity to decide who has the character. Who would I want if my loved one had to stand there in judgment? Who would I want my loved one to stand there? Is this the character of that person? If it's divorce court, if you're going through a divorce, a domestic situation, a custody situation, those are the decisions that these judges are making. So we've got to be certain that we appreciate that we might not be in that situation right now, but you're probably half a step away from your cousin, your sister, or someone in your family being in that situation. And you want to be certain that they have a fair judge that will just listen to them and give them a fair shake at what is going to be the outcome of that situation. That's why those judicial elections are so incredibly important. And all that Selena has just laid out with regards to the Gen Z, I gotta say this. Folks have always discounted Gen Z voters. They say, oh, they don't vote, don't worry about them, they don't know what they're doing. Let me tell you, we push back hard on that. And when I say push back hard, I mean push back hard. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act that didn't pass got close because of Gen Zs that were out there. The environmental changes that we've seen in this country, they came about because of the Gen Z vote of what happened out there. The gun control that we've seen that's happened in this country came as a result of the Gen Z vote. So don't say what Gen Z can't do. We need to lift up what Gen Z has done and let them know that they can achieve. This is the reason that they should be out voting. They need to see the rewards. They need to see what happens as a result of their actions appreciated and lifted up. That's the big piece that's missing there.
It's time for us to link hand in hand from generation to generation and say, we got this. How do we have it? Through our vote.
A vote is a voice.
A voice is power.
A voice not spoken
Cannot be heard.
A voice not heard soon goes silent.
I have a voice. You have a voice.
Together, we are loud. And if you stand for anything,
Raise your voice.
Power not used is power lost.
Power not shared.
is not democracy.
I have power. You have power. What matters to you,
Must matter to them.
claim your power.
A vote not counted?
Cannot make change. A vote suppressed is a voice silenced.
I have a vote.
You have a vote.
Let's have them counted.
For America to share your values,
Use your vote.
Your voice.
Your power.
your vote.
Wow, this has been fire, fire, fire. It's lit up in here. I'm about to suffocate. It's so hot and heated up in here because this conversation is right on point, and I'm so glad we have joining us Kay Davis herself, Danette. Thank you so much for opening the doors and for hosting Trending Tuesdays, because your vision is to make sure that we're always educated. We understand what's accessible to us, and we're empowered to be able to make life happen better, not only for ourselves, but for others. That's kind of how you live life. And this is election season, and we know that our vote is going to actually determine how everyone lives life for like another decade or so, right? Because what happens through this vote is going to actually have a trickling effect on years to come. We have with us Daryl Jones, we have Selena, and we have Daniel, AKA Danny, with us as well. And Danny, he works with younger kids. He's working with high schoolers. So we have someone who's working and impacting high schoolers. We have our Gen Z here, and we have Daryl, who impacts generations from the elders all the way down to the Gen Zs as well. And I just do everybody as well. What do you think about this group coming together and what we're doing, uniting?
I'm excited. I'm excited. You're right. We're over here, doing what we do, but at an oddball time, because these are oddball times. This is serious. It's important in more ways than one. You and I both, all of us know that as this local election thing that's going on. When I say local, I don't just mean Houston, but I mean to the state, what have you, to the national. And I asked earlier where you were from, just because I wanted to know in my mind, the impact, if you understood the impact of where we are as Houstonians and as Texans and what that meant. He told me it was all the way from Spring, Texas. So
all the way from Spring,
from
Texas.
Suburb,
Yeah.
but politics, local politics are as important. And because we are Kay Davis in the community, and as you've seen at the showroom where we are in the community. It's intentional and it's on purpose. We think that what you do, Tanya, I'm so appreciative of you. You're always in there with, it's not a thing where your hands are not touching you and the bishop and all of the great things at Pure Justice. You guys are here a lot. We appreciate you, and it's nice to meet the other group that's working, because this is real. And for you to tell me that he's working with high school kids, I say bravo, right? Because there are a lot of, right now, I guess you're Gen Zers, where President Obama was the president, and so you thought, that's the way things are. And you get into really kind of live in the world that we all knew to be true for years, and I'm hoping that you're able to talk to them in a real way, so they understand that voting is a privilege, but it's for you, but it's not something for you to take for granted. I just hope that honestly that the young people who you're influencing really understand that people would not be trying so hard to stop you from voting, like Tanya and I talked about earlier, if it were not so important. I was raised by grandparents, right? And so I had to vote before I could drive. They were like, you don't have a car, but you can go vote. You know what I'm saying? And then the poll taxes and all those things explained to me as a child. Didn't quite totally understand exactly what have you. How could that even be? But things don't have to be fair. Life ain't fair. And I learned that a very long time ago. It is just, though. So for those, we talked about last week, the race is not always to the swift, but to those that endure and hang out and do what we're supposed to do. Like Tanya, each one teach one, and then be the change. That is one of my favorite hashtags. You do it.
That's right.
I don't wait for anybody else to do it. So that's who we are as K. Davis in the community, and I'm just really, really, really grateful for you. They showed me the pictures on the bus. I was just dying. They said they are on that bus driving around town, and Tanya said this morning they were going to go in coffee shops and ask for, you're taking it to them. And I'm grateful, and it makes me smile. So thank you, and thank you for what you guys do.
Yeah, taking it to the streets.
Right? I'm so excited.
Yes, I am so excited. Y'all can tell I am very excited. I'm very excited because this gives hope.
Yes.
Right.
And when people have hope, then anything becomes possible, right? Anything becomes possible. Danny, what possibilities do you see, and do the children, the youth that you work with, what possibilities do you see in them?
No, and thank you very much for having me on the show, Tanya and Kay. Thank you for all of the work that y'all doing for hosting this. I think the possibilities are endless, but I don't think that we know that as a community. So I work in the Alden community, which is just south of Spring, where I was born and raised and grew up. And I think, you mentioning hope, that is something that, sometimes it's in short supply, but it's because we don't know how endless it is and how deep it goes, right? And how we can always find it in anywhere. And so a lot of the students that we work with in Alden, they come from tough backgrounds, right? So immigration status, right? They come from mixed status families. Their parents are getting deported, as we speak. They come from low economic backgrounds, right? They don't have the support because our schools are closing down and they're not getting fully funded. And so their potential is there, right? And so the work that we do in the Alden School District with our Alden Votes program is that we try to help them unlock and reach and discover their potential. And then we try to capitalize on that, and we take them to DC. We take them to Austin. We took them to City Hall last week and put them in these spaces that are our spaces, right? Because of our tax dollars, their tax dollars, and show them these are the possibilities for you. You can intern in this office. You can run for this office. You can hold this office, right? And it starts with voting. And so, Ms. Kay, you mentioned 2008 when Obama was inaugurated. This year, the first-time voters that we take to vote, they were born in 2008. So we need to educate them, right, on this fight. And we spoke about this, recently, that the fight is never ending, and the wins that we've secured, they're not permanent, and they can get rolled back, and they're getting rolled back, and it's very unfortunate, but we got to educate these young folks. I know I may not look it, but I am Gen Z, or a Zillennial, if you would. I'm right there. And so, again, we got to educate them that, the fight is going, and we got to keep these wins, and we got to keep getting more wins, like was mentioned earlier, that Gen Z has helped us get.
Yes, and you mentioned that the fight continues.
That's right.
I think that many of the people felt like we had arrived.
Right.
And the fight was over. They felt like the playing field had been pretty level because we've seen people make great achievements, right? And so we stopped talking about that there ever was even a fight. So when you talk about people who were born in 2008 when President Obama was inaugurated, just that short time period, and we've not talked about what happened with John Lewis, what happened with Fannie Lou Hamer, what happened prior to, right? The fight that Jesse Jackson and others have been just continuously fighting for and fighting in. So when we have not talked about that, they don't feel like we're really in a fight. We're saying we're in a fight, and like, well, where's the fight? Who's in the fight? I'm not in a fight. I have all the luxuries I need, and pretty much those luxuries are, I have my cell phone, my iPad, I have I live in a comfortable home, a comfortable neighborhood. I feel pretty safe with where I am. So what do you say about us educating people so that they'll know that what the fight was? We only made a little bit of stride, And the fight definitely has to continue. And anytime you stop, if you have to fight for something to get something, you know you have to fight to keep it.
That's right.
What do you all have to say about that? Anyone?
Sure.
Well, sure. You know, one of the things, and Reverend Jackson, as you may know, very close to the Transformative Justice Coalition, we work arm in arm and hand in hand. One of the things that Reverend would always say, and I continue to say it to this day, is that, you know, your vote, it permits you the opportunity to experience certain freedoms. And for that vote, it's what he calls the freedom train, right? There's a freedom train coming, but you gotta be registered to get on. And if you're not registered to get on, if you're not registered to vote, the freedoms that you dream of, you will not be able to experience because you did not exercise that right to vote. It's not always talking about, you know, and it's true that that John Lewis was one of our idols and all that went on during the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Next weekend, we do the 61st anniversary of Bloody Sunday in Selma, Alabama. All of that occurred, but when we're trying to identify and talk to our younger voters, that generation, the ones that from 2008 who really don't know what it was like to have a President Obama as a president, or to understand what President Obama came into when he became president, how bad the country actually was. They don't have that background. So part of what we've got to do is we've got to be certain that we're teaching that part to them as to what happened. But in order to teach it to them, we got to have the books that are available for them to be able to read. Right. So we've got to be concerned about the banned books. We've got to be concerned about, you know, who's on the school board and all the other layers of government. So it all really all comes together. But again, in order for it all to happen, in order for us to protect the communities, to protect our society in general, and to grow into the greatest multiracial, multicultural, inclusive, and diverse society that we can be, got to be certain we're registered to vote and we're activating that vote.
Thank you.
If I may share my thoughts as well, I think the example you gave us that they have the luxuries, right, which, you know, a cell phone and food and stable housing, which some people in our community are still fighting for and struggling with, but I think it's almost like you're in a golden cell, right? So you don't know that you're limited, either a glass ceiling or you have bars, right, that are limiting your mobility, and we don't see it until it's exposed to us, until we learn about it, right? So that goes back to the education. So in my case, both of my parents are immigrants. None of them went to college. I didn't know what the possibilities were for me. I thought maybe working in a warehouse like my dad or working at Subway like my mom. And so once I was able to go to Lone Star College, I want to give them a shout out. U of H, give them a shout out as well. And the possibilities started opening up to me. I had different mentors and professors and employers and bosses be that example to me. And so that's what we're trying to do here in Aldine. And so once they open up and they're like, oh wow, like there's more beyond this and it goes deep, right? I think that's where the possibilities open up, and I think that's where the potential lies. And it starts with registering to vote, obviously voting, going to DC again, going to Austin, meeting these elected officials, realizing that they're just normal people like ourselves here seated today. I myself am an elected official. I represent Lone Star College on their board of trustees. I got elected in 2024. I was inspired by the students themselves for myself to run, and I was fortunate enough to win. And so I use that experience now to share it with the students and say, again, local politics, right? School boards. A lot of elected officials that we see now got started on school boards or local politics. And so I think it's important to pay attention now to who these representatives are and what they're doing here locally.
If I could throw in real quick, because you know I love to give people homework assignments.
Okay.
So I gotta be certain that the audience has its homework assignment. Okay. For the Gen Z folks, y'all ain't just gotta vote for somebody. You can run for these positions.
Yes.
So look to running for these positions. In local elections, municipalities and local elections, although you must be 18 right now to participate, you can petition your county to lower that age for the local election to 16, so that you can have 16-year-olds that start that process of voting. They may not be able to vote in the state and federal elections, but the local elections, may be available to them. So I encourage people to start looking into that, to get them involved early in the process of voting, and it'll carry on, and I think will certainly carry great rewards.
To our audience, what does multi-generational voting look like? We talked about it, hit on it just a little bit earlier. That means, Danette, we're having to take our kids with us and our grandkids with us.
Yes.
Take them with you. Take your cousin, take your nieces, take your nephew. You're the grandma of the community, the mama of the community. I feel older and older when I hear Mama T, GT, all of that, the church mama, you're the church mama. Tell those kids to get out and vote. Get up now. You have not voted. The polls close at 7 p.m. today. You have to be in the building before 7 p.m. If you are in the building, they cannot put you out of the building until you have voted. I've said my spiel just a little bit, I think, but I'm going to let each of our guests here on the show today, and let's give it up for them again. And we're going to let you all have a last word, and then we're going to bring Brian in so that he can have his last word. Go ahead, we'll start with the beautiful Selena.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me and for having Pure Justice, of course. Voting is an opportunity to let people know that you're listening, to let people know that you're open to holding the elected officials that shape your life accountable. If you care about housing, if you care about people who are undocumented, if you care about people who are justice involved, who are system impacted, let everyone know with your vote, it's the best opportunity that we have to affect change right now. Thank you so much.
Danny?
Sure. And so this is something, obviously voting is extremely important. This is something that I tell the young people and really anybody. I'm super happy to hear that we had a first-time voter who, 70 years old. It's never too late, right? Voting is super important. Go do that today if you haven't done it during early vote. But I also want to say it's the bare minimum, So there's so much more, as we've spoken here today, that you can do beyond voting. So once you've got your I voted sticker, what's next? Holding these people accountable, reaching out to them, meeting them, getting ready for the next election, because there's one, right behind each of the other ones that come. And so please make sure that you vote, and then make sure that you keep it going. Thank you so much.
Brian, Daryl, I want to bring you over here.
So, I think I certainly pick up with what both Selena and Danny have laid out. The one thing I want to be certain that people recognize, and we have talked about people, if you're in place to vote before the 7 o'clock cutoff, that you have the ability to vote. It's not that you have to be in the building, so long as you are in line. Right. So if you're in line by 6:59, stay in line and get your vote on. That it's so incredibly important that you do it. And please, as you've heard multiple of us say today, take somebody with you. Yes. Don't go alone. Whether it's a young person or a senior, make it a family event. Take folks with you to the poll and make it an exciting event, because it is a powerful and exciting time to be a person that's in a democracy that has the ability to vote. And do it, and I lay this out. As you do it, think of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr., who would be in line pushing somebody to vote. Talk to that young person about who he was, and keep that dream alive.
When you ask me for my final thoughts today as we talk about voting, as I look across at you, I want to first say you have a superintendent out there in Goffney who is phenomenal. What have you? We do business. We also sell furniture, but and Aldine is one of our customers, but she's phenomenal on all the levels. I want to say that. So you guys are doing fantastic things out there. But then when I look at you guys, my husband likes YouTube, and you always listen to that. There's a podcast. Everybody's got something to say. Everybody's got something to say. But see, saying it without voting it is nothing. Saying it, I'm going to say that again because y'all not understanding me. You're not hearing me. All that talking, I said talk. But when you vote, when I went to vote Friday, you know what I'm saying? And once I voted, I knew, because I had a grandfather that say, no, you go vote, okay? Once I vote, then I know I've had my say.
Yes.
Now, I can't affect, what the president's doing, what the governor, whatever. But when I vote, I've had my say. And if you can at least have your say and vote where it matters, because all that talking means absolutely nothing. When they say talk is cheap, talk is cheap. And that's something I want everybody to, I had this good feeling in my little I vote ticket. I was out there, and the one other thing I want to say is, you're not supposed to really be in there looking up on your phone. But there were some questions that I didn't realize were going to be on the ballot, or some folk I didn't realize, and you can't just say, oh, she's a girl, and he looks like he's, we do some of that. But the smart thing to do is really get to know who's on that ballot, because their opinions and where they stand on issues really matter. And I took the time, literally, to go online and read who was endorsing folk or what they had to say before I cast my vote. Because when you vote, that's it. But your vote should count. And that's my final thought. I'm voting.
Brian, you're out in the cut. What would you say is your final word to voters today on the cut?
Do your research, y'all. This is critical for you to get out here. Step out that comfort zone. I want my Gen Zs, my young Gen Zs, my young millennials to understand the impact. You are the future of Harris County. It's time for you to get out there. You may not be pushing superintendents out the way now, but your kids, the loved ones, your grandma, the SNAP benefits, the food benefits. Think about housing. Think about all the things you want to see change. Think about the progress you want for your city, and take that to the polls. This is a critical time. This is a historic time. We're down here with TJC, Pure Justice, Black Voters Mountain, and everybody else to push this vote out. Believe me, when I came 2,000, I'm 2,000 miles from home, 16 hours away from home as we speak. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I love my people so much that this was so important for me to come and take this 2 weeks, and I've been loving it, and I've been loving the hospitality. Get out there, vote, Gen Zs. Mamas push them out there. I just want to say thank y'all and aunties, grannies, everybody for doing your part, but we want to make sure that we get our Gen Zs and our millennials out there, so do your part. Y'all the future. That's it for me. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing episode, special episode of Trending Tuesdays. I believe we are speaking to the people today because people need to hear this message of hope. And your hope is in your vote. You are somebody. Your voice, your vote really does matter because your life matters.
Every Tuesday we're setting the tone. Latest trends, let it be known. Voices rising, stories unfold. Thought-provoking, fresh and bold. From the mic to the movement we bring. Conversations that matter, hear wisdom sing. Insight, purpose, food for the soul.